There was no cake. There were no congratulations. Not even a call. On my birthday, the silence celebrated, and the only one who came was my ex-daughter-in-law, with flowers. You know those days when you wake up and you already know it's going to hurt. I woke up like that on my 62nd birthday, a strange feeling in my chest, as if the day itself was warning me that it would be tough. I didn't plan anything. I just kept the house clean. I made a small cake as if waiting without admitting it. You know when you don't want to have expectations, but deep down you're waiting for someone to show up at your door. That was it. A hope disguised as routine. The cell phone was right there beside me, silent. I looked at it every now and then, pretending I wasn't waiting. But I was. Of course I was. We always wait on our birthday, even when we say we don't care. I set the table with 2 plates. 2. I don't know why. Maybe because one person alone on their birthday is too sad, even for the one living it. Maybe because there was still a spark of hope that someone would come. I remember past birthdays. A full house. My children running through the kitchen. Grandkids clinging to my leg. Noise. Lots of noise. That good noise that we only appreciate when it turns into silence. When the house becomes too big for just one person. It was always a party. Not big, but ours. The cake I'd make since early morning. The kids helping with the decorations. My daughter-in-law at the time giving me a hand with the table. Everyone together. Everyone present. Everyone remembering. But that was a long time ago. Before the kids grew up and spread out around the world. Before the grandkids became too busy with their own lives. Before I became an occasional memory. A quick call when there's time. Every passing hour was like a confirmation. 10 in the morning. Noon. 3 in the afternoon. 6 in the evening. No one came. No one would come. The phone remained silent. The door remained closed. The silence remained heavy. It's not just forgetfulness. It's worse. It's when you realize you've left people's lives, that the place you occupied simply doesn't exist anymore, as if you had been slowly erased, without anyone noticing, not even yourself. You know when you stop being needed and realize you never will be again. When you realize your role is over, that you fulfilled your role as a mother, as a grandmother, as a mother-in-law, and now there's just an old woman left, whom no one quite knows what to do with. When it struck 8 in the evening, I accepted it. No one remembered, not even those who live in the same city, not even those who promised never to leave me alone, not even those I raised, not even those I helped, not even those I always remembered. It seems that when you're no longer useful, they don't even remember that you exist, when you have nothing more to offer beyond your presence, and the presence of an old woman doesn't count for much in today's world. I was putting away the cake when the doorbell rang. I thought it was a mistake, or the doorman wanting something. Who could it be at that hour? But it was her, my ex-daughter-in-law, the woman who had been married to my youngest son for 7 years, the one I thought I'd never see again after the divorce. Paula, hair cut differently, thinner, her eyes still sweet as I remembered. She was standing there at the door with a bouquet of sunflowers, her eyes full of something I hadn't seen in a long time. Care. Genuine care. Mrs. Clarice. That's what she always called me. Even when we were family. Even when she stayed at my house on weekends. Even when I taught her to make my cornmeal cake. Always respectful like that. Always polite. But that day, she didn't call me Mrs. Clarice. She said my name. My real name. As if I were a person. Not a mother-in-law. Not an ex-mother-in-law. A person. Clarice. Congratulations, Clarice. And she gave me a hug. One of those hugs where you feel the person is really there. Present. Entire. Not an obligatory hug. A hug from someone who chose to be there. A hug from someone who came because they wanted to. I was speechless. Didn't expect it. Didn't even dream of it. After the divorce, she disappeared from our lives. Normal. It happens. People move on, build a new life, forget what was left behind. But she was there, on my forgotten birthday, with flowers in her hands and a smile on her face. Come in. Please come in. We sat at my table. She took the cake I had made, said it was delicious, that she missed my cornmeal cake. We ate in silence for a while, a pleasant silence, different from the silence I had lived with all day. It was a silence of companionship, of presence, of someone who chose to be there with me, someone who remembered that I existed, that I mattered, that I deserved to be remembered. She told me about her life, about her new job at a school for special children, about the small apartment she had bought with a lot of sacrifice, about the plants she was trying not to kill, about the cat she had adopted from the street. Simple things, things of people who are living, rebuilding, moving forward. I asked about boyfriends, about plans to marry again. She laughed, said she was fine alone, that she was learning to enjoy her own company, that she was discovering who she was without being half of someone else. I asked why she came, why she remembered, why after 3 years without contact, she showed up at my door today of all days. She stopped eating, looked at me, took a while to respond, as if she were choosing the right words, as if it were too important to be said just anyway. You taught me to love, not just your son, but really love. Love by caring, love by remembering, love without expecting anything in return. I couldn't leave you alone today. I didn't cry at the time. I saved it for later, when she left, when I was left alone with that phrase echoing in my head. You taught me to love. She stayed until late, helped wash the dishes, set the table, like in the old times when she was still family, or maybe still is, in a different way, but still is. We talked about everything, about the past, about the present, about her plans, about my fears, about the loneliness we sometimes feel even when we're not alone, about the loneliness that hurts more when we are. She told me she always remembered our conversations, the afternoons we spent together in the kitchen, how I listened to her without judging, how I gave advice without being intrusive, how I welcomed her as a daughter even though she was just a daughter-in-law. I remembered everything too, how she came into our family shy and scared, how she slowly opened up, how she became a part of us, how I rooted so much for things to work out between her and my son. When they separated, I suffered too, not just because of my son's sadness, but because I was losing her too. A daughter I had gained and who was leaving, a friend I had discovered and could no longer have, but she was there, proving that some affections are stronger than circumstances, that some bonds don't break even when they seem broken, that some people are not forgotten even when it would be easier to forget. When she left the sunflowers in the vase in the living room. She said it was to remind me that some affections don't die, even when we think they have, even when life changes and people separate. She promised me she would return, that she wouldn't disappear again, that our friendship hadn't ended with the marriage, that I was still important to her, that she still needed me, that I still had a place in her life. My house smelled like sunflower for days. Every time I passed by the living room and saw those flowers, I thought of her gesture, of her choice to be there when no one else was, of her courage to come back after so long. Then I kept thinking, how many times do we forget those who were important? How many times do we leave others alone because they are no longer our obligation? How many times do we confuse family with blood? Affection with convenience. How many times do we abandon people who were special because life changed? Because it is no longer convenient to keep in touch. Because it is no longer our responsibility. Because it is easier to leave behind and move on. My ex-daughter-in-law didn't need to be there. She didn't owe me anything. She had no obligation. But she came. Because what she felt for me didn't die along with the marriage. It remained alive. It remained real. It remained important. This made me think about how many people I also forgot. How many people who were important to me that I left behind when life changed. How many flowers I didn't deliver. How many times I didn't say happy birthday. How many phone calls I didn't make. We think that affection is automatic, that people will always be there, that love is permanent, that it doesn't need to be cared for, that it doesn't need to be nurtured, that it doesn't need to be shown. But it's not like that. Affection needs care. It needs choice. It needs gesture. It needs presence. It needs remembrance. It needs action. It needs someone to make the first move. Someone who has the courage to appear. Someone who isn't afraid to show. My ex-daughter-in-law taught me this that day. That love is a verb. That it is action. That it is showing up when no one is looking. That it is remembering when it would be easier to forget. That it is choosing to be there when no one forces you to. The sunflowers wilted after a week. But what she planted in me that day is still alive. The certainty that I was important to someone, that I left a mark, that I taught love even without knowing it, that I mattered in someone's life. Maybe that's what remains in the end. Not how many people remember you, but how many people carry a piece of what you gave. How many people are better because you existed in their lives. How many people learned something from you that they will carry forever. My ex-daughter-in-law is one of those people, and I discovered this on the day everyone forgot about me. She remembered. She chose to remember. She decided that I was still worth a visit, a conversation, a hug, some flowers. Now, when my birthday approaches, I don't wait. I don't set the table for two. I don't keep looking at my phone. I bake my cake. I buy my sunflowers. I celebrate who I am. I celebrate what I have built. I celebrate the affections I have planted. And if someone shows up, they will be welcome. If no one shows up, that's fine too. Because I have learned that we cannot rely on others to feel loved. We need to recognize the love we gave, the love we planted, the love we still carry. We need to value ourselves. We need to recognize our importance. We need to stop waiting for others to make us feel special. We need to be special to ourselves first. We need to love ourselves before expecting to be loved. My ex-daughter-in-law gave me that. She gave me back to myself. She reminded me that I am more than a forgotten mother, more than a distant grandmother. I am a woman who knew how to love, who knew how to teach, who knew how to leave a mark, who knew how to make a difference. And no one can take that from us. That stays. That remains. That is ours. Even when everyone forgets. Even when no one recognizes it. Even when it seems like it wasn't worth it. It was. It always is. There are days when I still miss the noise. The full house. The children running. The large table. The impromptu parties. The constant movement. The feeling of being needed. Of having a clear purpose, of knowing my place in the world. But it's not a painful longing. It's a longing that's grateful, because all of that existed. All of that was real. All of that was worth it. All of that made me who I am today. All of that taught me to love, to care, to be present, to make a difference. And when nostalgia hits, I look at the fresh sunflowers I buy every week. I remember my former daughter-in-law. I remember the love I taught. I remember that true affections never die. They just change form. They just transform. They just manifest differently. She called me last week. She said she missed my cornmeal cake. She asked if she could come over on Sunday for coffee with me. Of course she could. Of course she can. She always can. My door will always be open for her. Because family is not only blood. Family is also choice. Family is also who stays. Family is also who remembers. Family is also who shows up with flowers on the days everyone else forgets. Family is also who doesn't give up on us. who doesn't abandon us, who doesn't forget. And I'm lucky. I have a daughter who wasn't born to me but who chose me, a daughter who remembers, a daughter who cares, a daughter who taught me that the love we give always comes back. Maybe not from where we expect, but it always comes back. It always finds a way to return. On my next birthday, I will make 2 cakes. One for me, one for her. I will buy sunflowers. I will set the table. I will wait. But this time, I will wait with certainty. Because I know she will come. Because I know she remembers. Because I know that for her, I still exist. And that's all. That's enough. That's much more than I ever imagined having on that day when nobody showed up. Except her. Except my ex-daughter-in-law. Except my heart daughter. Except my sunflower miracle. Life is funny. We think we know how things are going to be. We make plans. We create expectations. We expect people to behave as we anticipate. And when it doesn't happen the way we want, we get disappointed, hurt, resentful. But sometimes life surprises us. Sometimes affection comes from where we least expect it. Sometimes the one who remembers you is not the one who should remember. Sometimes the one who chooses to stay is not the one you thought would stay. Sometimes the one who truly loves you is not the one who is obligated to. And that's beautiful. That's real. That's truthful. Because this love is free. It's chosen. It's decided. It's not imposed. It's not obligatory. It's not expected. It's genuine. It's spontaneous. It's sincere. Paula taught me that true love doesn't obey rules, doesn't follow protocol, doesn't respect hierarchy, doesn't care about conventions. True love simply is, simply happens, simply chooses, simply stays, and I'm grateful. Grateful for having learned this, grateful for having experienced this, grateful for having felt this, grateful for having been chosen, grateful for having been remembered, grateful for having been loved, truly, without obligation, by choice. If you have ever been forgotten on a day when you most needed a hug, think with me. There's someone you've forgotten and who might be waiting for a flower. There's someone who was important to you and whom you left behind. There's someone who deserves to know that the love they gave is still alive in you. There's someone who needs to hear that they were special, that they made a difference, that they taught something important, that they left a mark, that they were loved, that they are still remembered, that they still matter, that they still have a place in your heart. Life is too short to let affections die from neglect, to let important people feel forgotten, to let true love get lost in time, to leave gratitude unsaid, to leave hugs ungiven, to leave flowers undelivered. If there's someone you want to reach out to, reach out. If there's someone you want to hug, hug them. If there's someone you want to thank, thank them. If there's someone you want to forgive, forgive them. If there's someone you want to love, love them. While there's still time, while it's still possible, while it still makes sense. Because one day it might be too late. One day the person might not be here anymore. One day you might regret not doing it when you could, not saying it when you should have, not showing it when you felt it, not choosing when it was time to choose. My ex-daughter-in-law didn't let it be too late. She showed up when I needed it the most, when I was feeling the most invisible, when I was almost giving up believing that I still mattered to someone. And that changed everything for me, made me believe again, gave me hope again, made me feel alive again, made me realize that I still have much to offer, much to live for, much to love. There are days when I wake up and still feel that loneliness, that emptiness, that feeling that I am left over in the world, that my time has passed, that I have nothing more to offer. But then I look at the sunflowers, and I remember that there is someone who chose me, who loves me, who values me, who recognizes who I am, who I was, who I can still be. And that's enough. That sustains me. That strengthens me. We don't need to be loved by everyone. We don't need to be remembered by everyone. We don't need to be important to everyone. Just one person who truly sees us, who recognizes our worth, who chooses to stay. Paula is that person for me. And I am grateful every day for that, for being chosen, for being seen, for being loved, for being remembered when everyone else forgot. Now I understand that old age is not just loss. It's not just forgetfulness. It's not just loneliness. It can also be discovery. It can also be surprise. It can also be a new beginning. It can also be unexpected love. It can also be a second chance. I thought my love story was over, that my time to be important had passed, that my time to make a difference had ended. But no, I am still here. I can still love. I can still be loved. I can still matter. And that gives me strength to continue, to wake up every day, to take care of myself, to take care of my home, to take care of my relationships, to take care of the love that still exists, to take care of the hope I still have. Sometimes Paula brings other people to me, her friends, colleagues from work, people who need advice, a conversation, a hug, a borrowed mom, and I welcome them all, because I know I can make a difference in their lives too. I became the surrogate grandma for some special kids at the school where she works. They come to my house sometimes, eat my cake, play in my yard, call me Grandma Clarice. They make me feel needed again, useful again, important again. And I realized that life didn't end when my children grew up. It didn't end when my grandchildren got big. It didn't end when I became a widow. It didn't end when I was alone. Life just changed, took another direction, gained another meaning. Now my purpose is different. I am no longer the mother who raises. I am the woman who welcomes. I am no longer the grandmother who cares. I am the friend who listens. I am no longer the wife who serves. I am the person who loves, freely, by choice, without obligation, and that is liberating. That is beautiful. That is real. Being able to love without having to love. Being able to care without having to care. Being able to be present by one's own will, by choice, for real love. Paula taught me that there is life after the traditional family. There is love after marriage. There is purpose after motherhood. There is joy after sadness. There is reunion after loss. She showed me that sometimes we find family where we least expect it. Sometimes we find children who were not born from us. Sometimes we find love that doesn't depend on blood. Sometimes we find home in people who chose to stay. And I choose to stay too. I choose to continue. I choose to believe. I choose to love. I choose to live. I choose to be happy with what I have, with who stayed, with who chose, with who remembers, with who returns, with who stays. My birthday next year is already planned. There will be cornmeal cake. There will be sunflowers. There will be Paula. There will be the school children. There will be her friends. There will be laughter. There will be hugs. There will be love. There will be a party. Not the party I dreamed of when I was younger. Not the party with my children and grandchildren. Not the party I thought I should have, but the party that is possible. The party that is real. The party that is mine. The party I choose to have. And that is enough. That is sufficient. That is complete. That is perfect just the way it is. Because it is true. Because it is chosen. Because it is real love. Because it is a real family. Because it is real life. So if you are reading this and identifying with it, if you have also felt forgotten, if you have also felt invisible, if you have also felt alone on your own birthday, know that you are not alone, that there is hope, that there is a possibility of a new beginning. And if you have someone in your life who might be feeling this way, someone you forgot, someone you left behind, someone who deserves a call, a visit, a hug, some flowers. Don't wait. Don't put it off. Don't let it be too late, because life is made of small gestures, of small choices, of small loves, of small presences, and these small moments can be giant in someone's life. They can make all the difference. They can change everything, like Paula changed my life, how she changed my birthday, how she changed my perspective, how she changed my hope, how she changed my capacity to love and be loved. A visit, some flowers, a hug, a phrase. You taught me to love, and that's it. Everything changed. Everything transformed. Everything made sense again. Everything became possible again. And if this can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. It can happen to you. It can happen today. It can happen when you least expect it. So don't give up. Don't give up on love. Don't give up on believing. Don't give up on waiting. Because true love always finds a way. It always comes back. It always appears. Sometimes from where we least expect it. Sometimes in the way we least imagine. But it always comes back. It always arrives. It always happens. And when it happens, you will know. You will feel. You will recognize. As I recognized when I saw Paula at my door, with flowers in her hands and love in her heart, on my forgotten birthday that became the most special birthday of my life. This conversation doesn't end here. Come with me to the next video,